If you plan on tabling at any conventions, especially Atlanta Comic Con, this video is for you. Atlanta Comic Con was quite the adventure. I learned a lot while I was there, and I even had the chance to update my table while preparing for this event. In this video, I'll be going over the steps I took to table in the Artist Alley at Atlanta Comic Con. While searching for conventions to attend, I came across Atlanta Comic Con and instantly applied. I went on their website and navigated myself to the Artist Alley and vendor applications. The table was $314.15. This was going to be the farthest I've traveled to a convention where I was tabling in the Artist Alley. So you know I had to prepare myself as much as I possibly could to make this trip worth it. At first, I was looking for an Airbnb instead of a hotel. But me and my girl realized we didn't want to do that again because the last time we got one was in Indiana for Indiana Comic Con. And we weren't the only ones inside that house since the rooms were booked, not the house itself. We didn't want to share a bathroom with strangers again. And we also didn't want to be in a spot as shady as the one at that time. My sister told me to look on booking.com, and I found a spot 15 to 20 minutes away from the Georgia World Congress Center. The hotel was the cheapest we could find, which was $320.28. After we secured that, I got an email saying I got a grant from the Greater Columbus Arts Council. This was the best news that I could get at the time, because it meant I was able to cover my travel expenses without it coming out of my pocket. Now that that was covered, I was able to focus on working on Asmodeus Chapter 2 and prepare for what materials I wanted to bring for this specific convention. My girlfriend realized that I needed some more merch, so she went on Vogue Race to create some custom keychains that featured my characters from the first chapter of Asmodeus, specifically Zola and Asmodeus. They were so cute, y'all. Like, y'all gotta see them. Y'all gonna see them on here, don't worry. She made both of them holding a gumball and used a pattern I made for the lanyard. She also made bags, some tote bags, with 2 different designs to see how they would sell. We didn't think they'd get here on time for the convention since we didn't hear much from Vogue Race via email, but they came 2 days before we left. So we was real lucky, y'all. We got a stand from Home Goods and decided to use it too. That way we could display the keychains in a way that we thought would make them stand out the most. I also ordered more copies of Asmodeus Chapter 1, but this time I used the gloss lamination to see if it would stand out. I ended up liking the matte ones better, but I did like the gloss prints I ordered. I made prints for my characters Ramiro and Clay, and Panty and Stocking from Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt. If y'all saw season 2, let me know, because I still gotta watch it. Now, the new season was coming out, and I thought it was the perfect time to actually make these as prints, because I was like, oh yeah, I know other people like this, so I might as well sell some of it, you know? And I also really liked what I did with the illustration, so, you know, I had to sell it, y'all. I had to. I even made a ton of stickers with previous designs I've made and finished a few other designs. That way I made sure, you know, you'd have some stickers that you want. I really wanted a custom tablecloth too, but the website I was looking on costed way more than I expected. So I chose to go on Amazon and purchase a pink tablecloth. It was much cheaper, and I liked it more than the black tablecloth I was using previously at other cons, since it stood out more and it fitted the table a lot better. The last one had more of a dining room type of feel to it, and that's not what I'm going for. Oh yeah, I got an acrylic stand for my stickers and bookmarks, and also got many chalkboards on Amazon so I could put the prices of each of my items on them. I had everything ready for the convention, but nothing could prepare me for that 8 to 9 hour drive, y'all. Oh my gosh. So me and my girl woke up early and left by 6 a.m. Remind you, neither of us are morning people, especially not her. Now, we didn't stop unless we needed to go to like the bathroom or we needed some gas. We stopped 3 different times. We didn't have to worry about food since we packed some specifically for the drive. And I drove most of the time and used music to let the time pass, but when I tell you there's nothing like a long drive with nothing but you in the road, I couldn't imagine making the drive back home right after the convention. But your boy was not about to pay for an extra night at the hotel. We're not wasting no money, y'all. Once we got to the hotel, it wasn't until about 3 p.m. and we got all of our stuff in the room. I searched through my emails to see if we could be able to set up at the convention early like most other conventions, but I couldn't find the information I was looking for on their website or the app. I found out later that it was in a toolkit email that was emailed to us, but I couldn't find that. I was searching through all my keywords and nothing popped up. And I'm pretty sure that's because it was attached as a PDF and it also had other information that I couldn't find. We stayed in the hotel for the night, caught up on some sleep, and prepared for the next day for the first day of the convention. So me and my girl got to the convention in a rush because we had to set up and find out where we get our vendor passes. We were led upstairs and then back downstairs, just to find out we could have just kept walking straight to get to the convention floor and then get our passes in the back. Remind you, we had so much heavy stuff on us and it was hot, so your boy was sweating. And look, we not gonna talk about it because I know y'all can tell in this video. We not gonna talk about it. But it was already hot outside, and running around the convention space to find where we needed to be did not help at all with how hot it was. And like, it wasn't even that cold in the convention space, at least not yet. Not yet. After we got set up, I kept in mind that Fridays are normally slow because people like to walk around the convention, especially the people who are going to be there for sure all weekend. They normally like to walk around for a little minute and then see exactly what they want to get, unless something really catches their eye. Now, Friday went by a lot slower than I thought it would, and it was disappointing, but I kept my hopes up. I met a few people who were tabling next to me and others who were across me, and our lane didn't get much traffic, and those who did get some mainly had a bunch of fan art. I noticed just how big the fandoms for Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss were, because every table that had their characters had people going to them. It's been popular for a while now, and I wonder how popular it'll get because it only seems to be getting bigger and bigger. I personally did watch Has Been Hotel and I loved it. I haven't watched Hell of a Boss yet. So if y'all recommend Hell of a Boss, let me know in them comments, because yeah, it is looking like I'm gonna need to watch it. And just so y'all know, I have nothing against fan art. It's just, when it comes to conventions and the applications, we're gonna open that can of worms in a minute. Towards the end of the video, I got a little spiel for that. Now, we ended up going to Chili's for dinner after the convention was done, and we went back to the hotel to prepare for day two. Day two. Oh man. The parking on day 2 was so irritating. And I say this because we were originally in the blue lot for day 1, right? It was $16 and some change, I believe. Then on day 2, I couldn't park there because it said that the parking was reserved. I'm like, what you mean it's reserved? Then me and my girl went around. We found a spot that was real far. It was $30. I was like, nope, we're not parking here. Found another spot that was a little closer for $25. So I parked there. Now, I actually really talked to my table mates on day 2, and I met Gavin and his sister. Gavin's the artist, and he goes by Pandora Demon. And he was telling us how the parking, he looked at me crazy when I said how much the parking was. And that's because he did the reserve. He said all we had to do was go on to the Congress Center's website and the parking would show up. So best believe I reserved my parking space for the next day, and it was in the blue lot. It was definitely in the blue lot, and it was only 11 something that time. So yeah, I was a little annoyed about that, but very happy that he let me know, because without him, I was not gonna know, y'all. Now, day 2 went by as slow as day 1, and that wasn't a good sign at all. Like, y'all, oh my gosh. People were rarely stopping by the table, and I noticed a lot of other vendors were starting to walk around. And most people don't do this unless they aren't getting much traffic or they have someone to watch their table. But I was seeing people walking in pairs of 2. So I'm like, do y'all got extra people, or, Now, we met some great people, and I want to focus on Gavin and his sister, since we started talking more and got to know each other. They were super cool, y'all. We even went out to eat after at this place called Food Terminal. If you are in Atlanta or visiting Atlanta, please go to Food Terminal, y'all. It's so good. I'm gonna show y'all what the food looks like. Y'all gotta see it. Now, like, they also had milk tea, y'all. They had milk tea. So I had to get some. I've been finding out I really like milk tea. But yeah, Gavin makes pinup type of art. It's stylized, and I think y'all would really like it, especially if you like DC characters. And I highly recommend checking out his work once you get the time. Remember, Pandora Demon on Instagram. We hung out for a bit longer after dinner, and then me and my girl went back to the hotel to prepare for the last day of the convention, because, we had to check out the hotel and everything. So, we on day 3 now. We checked out, and we made our way to the parking lot where we first parked on the first day. But it was $11 compared to that $16 this time. We started setting up, and I recognized a familiar face. Lloyd and his wife from Midnight Comics. I met Lloyd at DreamCon 2 years ago when I was helping Freestyle Comics table at that convention. And it was so good to see him again, bro. Him and his wife have been doing so much for their company, and that's another shout out right there, y'all. Midnight Comics, Freestyle Comics too. But I'll drop the app for both of them right here. But yeah, I didn't even know he was there. So after he checked my stuff out, I made sure I came to his table, and I went there after I had got some of the stir-fry food that was over there. The food be so expensive at these conventions, y'all. It was like $16. It was good though. It was good. Now I got some books from them. Even made a little bit of art trade. And yeah, they've been on their grind. If y'all want to see some more Black-owned indie published comics, I recommend both Midnight Comics and Freestyle Comics. Real big on that in diversity. They got a character for everybody, y'all. Everybody. I went back to my table and started making gift bags for the other people that I got to meet, and made a few art trades too. And as you see, I'm not really talking about selling work, and I was at my table a good chunk of the time. That's because the traffic was slow, and it was as slow as the other 3 days. It was disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. Just to be completely transparent with y'all. And I realized that the vendors hall was also slow on their end, because we was in the artist alley, and we thought, maybe it's just because everybody's at the vendors hall. They weren't making as much money either, y'all. They was making more, but a lot of them weren't making their tables either. We started packing a little early, about an hour, but we weren't fully packed up till about 30 minutes left for the convention. And we stayed a little longer to after the convention to help Gavin and his sister with a few things before we left back to go home. And man, was that a drive. We drove at night this time. We literally weren't on the road till just a little bit before 10 p.m. And I had to get me some coffee to keep me alert and awake for the long drive. I drove most of the time so my girl could rest, and since I know her astigmatism is worse than mine, I really had to make sure I was the one driving. The drive was smooth for the most part, but we did run into a person who didn't know how to act. We were going a little over the speed limit, and there were 2 lanes. This guy started using his lights to tell me to go faster, but I wasn't about to do that since we were already above the speed limit. He chose to switch lanes, drive past me, and then merge with the rear of his car dumb close to mine. He chose to be petty, so guess what I did? I chose to be petty back and put my brights on and made sure that they were in his rearview mirror. So yeah, all you gonna see is light, my boy. So, I blinked him a bunch of times, I'm not gonna lie. And he got behind me again and then chose to get in front of me in the same manner he did the last time. So this time I just kept blinking my brights. It was time to annoy this dude. And the car right next to me also had their brights on. So I don't know if they were also fed up with bro's antics, but at the end of the day, bro finally got off of he got off on the next exit, and then he was flicking us off. Now, here's something I want to remind y'all. It was 5 something in the morning. Why on earth are you in the rush to go anywhere at 5 in the morning and starting stuff with people on the road this early? Bro, I'm trying to get to my destination. Why are you being petty? But actions have repercussions, and I was his repercussion. So yeah, the rest of the drive was smooth after that, and we made it home by 7 a.m. So now it's time to get into these expenses, y'all. My grant was $1,200. It was from GCAC, Greater Columbus Arts Council. The hotel was $320.28. My artist alley table was $314.15. Stickers were $236.52. The acrylic stand that I got was $14.99. The tablecloth was $22.94. The mini chalkboards were $8.99. The binder rings were $13.99. The banner stand was $45.34. The banner was $76.50. Gas altogether from there and back was $164.27. Parking was $52.30 altogether. The copies of Osmodeus Chapter 1 that I got were $96.43. My prints were $71.90. My keychains and bags were $109.96 altogether. And that leaves me with $1,547.96 minus the grant. So I spent $347.96 out of pocket. Now I gotta do a little bit more math here. I made $37.73 on day 1. I made $35.45 on day 2, and I made $45.17 on day 3. So I made $118.35, which is the lowest I've made at a convention so far. I at least made my table back in Indiana and GalaxyCon. But that's besides the point. We'll take what I made away from what I spent out of pocket. So $347.96 minus $118.35. That's $229.61. That's what I spent out of pocket. I lost that money on the trip to Atlanta, even though the grant covered much more. So that leaves us with one question. Was Atlanta Comic Con really worth it? In short, definitely not. If you are not a local in Atlanta and you mostly do original art and have indie comics, I do not recommend this convention. It costs more to get there than it does to actually table there. And it doesn't help that this show is more of a fan show, meaning it's more catered towards the famous actors and voice actors who are there, and most of the art that's being sold is fan art for specific fandoms. If you're going to make friends, new connections, and just for exposure, I recommend going, but not if you don't have the funds to get there and back home without it making a major dent in your pockets. It's hard in this economy, y'all. I'm grateful for the experience I had. I'm very grateful for it. And without it, I wouldn't have made new friends and gotten to see old ones. I was able to get more exposure while leaving with friendships I didn't have before. If the money wasn't so hard to come by in this economy, I would definitely go again. But sadly, in this time, I do not think it's worth the risk. So now we got to get back into this fan art conversation and my issue with Comic Cons today. Comic conventions are risky for the first time no matter how you look at it, especially if you are going out of state due to the additional expenses for getting a hotel and for the gas you'll need on the way there and back home. Whew, especially if you go by plane. I've noticed a pattern at these conventions though. The applications claim they want the artists to have more original art. Some even ask for you to have a higher percentage of original art compared to fan art, asking for your portfolio just to make sure and what you've sold at past conventions. But this leaves me wondering why I see so much fan art at these shows. Fan art is cool and all, but this is called a comic convention, which insinuates that it should involve more people who make original characters in comics, publishers and indie publishers all together in one space, seeing what's new and available on the market today. A place full of people trying to get their names out and just trying to get more opportunities to tell their stories. If their main basis isn't comics and original art, I don't think it should be called a comic convention. And I also think they should stop making it seem like they want more original art when most of what you see is fan art. It's hard to make your money back without a bunch of fan art. But where are the shows for those who actually like to make original characters in comics? Where are the conventions for the indie publishers who are trying to get their stories out there? Comic conventions don't feel like comic conventions. They feel more like fandom or pop culture conventions. And I believe they should use names like that to clearly show what will be there. And it would just make it a whole lot more clear for what we should expect at these conventions and what people are getting. The commercialization of Comic Cons is a pain to see, but somehow, some way, us indie publishers and artists are going to find a way to get our names out there. But yeah, I have nothing against fan art. It's just looking for the market and finding that market, because I feel like a lot of the convention applications are misleading. Now, y'all been listening to me yap for 20 plus minutes now. Woo, this is a long video for me. If you found this video informative, please like and subscribe, especially if you'd like to see my journey as I continue to find which conventions cater towards my niche. Create original comics, create original characters, and give advice for the journey other artists can expect. My name is Mobankiki, and I appreciate you for watching this video all the way until the end. If you want to see my video on GalaxyCon Columbus, click on the link on the screen now. I also have folders for Fan Art Fridays and Ink With Me videos on the screen. Until next time, y'all.